Michael Bracciano had always felt like an outsider in his own family. His father, Salvatore Bracciano, was the unquestioned king of their criminal empire. His brothers, Carlo and Marco, had eagerly followed in Sal's footsteps, reveling in the power and wealth that came with being a Bracciano. But Michael? He was different. He had chosen a different path, one that led him away from the family's legacy of crime. Michael had served in the military, hoping to distance himself from the life his father had built. He fought for his country, risking his life to escape the shadow of his last name. But no matter how far he ran, no matter how much honor he tried to find, the weight of the Bracciano name always pulled him back. Now, as he stood at his sister's wedding, surrounded by family and friends, Michael felt more disconnected than ever. The wedding was a lavish affair. Wine flowed, music filled the air, and guests danced in celebration. But for Michael, it felt like a prison. His fiancée, Evelyn, was mingling with his cousins, laughing, unaware of the dark history that lay beneath the surface. Michael stared out at the sea of faces, feeling like a stranger among them. His father had wanted him to be here, but it wasn't just for the wedding. Sal had plans for Michael, just like he had plans for everything. "Michael," Carlo called from behind him, interrupting his thoughts. Michael turned to face his older brother. Carlo had always embraced the family business with open arms, never questioning the morality of their father's decisions. He thrived in this world, unlike Michael. "Dad wants to see you," Carlo said, his tone casual but with an undertone that suggested it wasn't a request. Michael sighed, knowing what was coming. He didn't want to face his father, but in the Bracciano family, there was no escaping the pull of loyalty. The meeting with Sal was as Michael expected. Sal sat behind his desk, a large cigar in hand, the smoke curling around him like a serpent. His office was a monument to power, mahogany furniture, expensive paintings, and a view of the city that Sal ruled with an iron grip. Everything about it screamed control. Sal didn't smile when Michael entered, but there was a warmth in his voice that his father reserved only for family. "Michael," Sal greeted him, gesturing for him to sit. "How are you, my son?" Michael sat down, feeling the weight of his father's gaze on him. This wasn't going to be a normal father-son conversation. "I'm fine," Michael replied, his voice strained. Sal leaned back in his chair, taking a slow drag from his cigar before speaking. "You've been avoiding me," Sal said, his tone calm but with an edge of disappointment. "You avoid your family. You avoid your responsibilities." Michael bristled at the word responsibilities. "I've served my country," Michael said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I've done my duty. I'm not like Carlo or Marco. I don't want this life, Dad." Sal's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing. "This isn't about what you want, Michael," Sal said, his voice growing colder. "This is about who you are. You think just because you fought in a war, you're better than this, than me? Let me tell you something, Michael. There's no escaping who you are. You were born into this family, and you will always be a Bracciano. You can't run from that." Michael felt a surge of anger rising inside him, but he kept it in check. "I didn't fight for this," Michael said, his voice sharp. "I didn't risk my life just to come back and become part of your empire." Sal leaned forward, his eyes locking onto his son's. "You think this empire is dirty? You think the world outside is any cleaner?" Sal's voice was intense now, each word hitting Michael like a hammer. "The politicians, the businessmen, they're all the same. They just wear nicer suits and shake hands in public. But behind closed doors, Michael, they're no better than me. At least I'm honest about what I do." Michael shook his head, refusing to accept his father's view of the world. "I won't become like you, Dad," Michael said, standing up, ready to leave the conversation. "I won't." Sal's voice stopped him as he reached the door. "One day, Michael, you'll see," Sal said, his tone softer now, almost sad. "In this world, you can't escape your blood. It always catches up to you." That night, Michael sat on the edge of his bed, staring out the window of his apartment. Evelyn was asleep next to him, her soft breathing the only sound in the quiet room. But Michael couldn't sleep. His father's words echoed in his mind, gnawing at him. No matter how much he wanted to deny it, a part of him knew that Sal was right. Michael had spent his whole life running from the family business, trying to carve out a life of his own. But the world outside wasn't so different. The corruption, the greed, the violence, it was everywhere. And now, with his father's empire under siege from rival families, the pull of loyalty was stronger than ever. He didn't want this life. He didn't want to be a Bracciano. But could he really escape it? The shadows of his father's world were closing in, and Michael was running out of time to decide which side he would stand on.